Hi, everybody. Hey, I'm glad you're back. This is part 2 of the exciting adventure of the first Thanksgiving. That's right. I hope you have your book with you. If you don't, go get your book. Come on. Come on. This isn't the first, maybe it is the first video you've watched. Go get your book. All right. But this is specifically recorded for INDLS First Grade Lesson 13.1 and Lesson 13.2. But this is such a big book that I broke it up into 2 parts. So hopefully you watched part 1, and that was reading page 4, the beginning, all the way to page through 19. Now we're going to do a quick picture walk through page 20 to the end of the story, and then I'm going to read it. Now, in case you don't have your book, here it is. Ready? Go get it. Hajime. Okay, I hope you're back. All right, here we go. All right, so we're going to do our, I got to find another word other than, all right. Let's do our picture walk. We are on page 20. Do you know? 20. 2 10s, 0 1s. I know, throw in some math in there too. 20. So what I see on page 20, it looks like to be a Native American. And remember, in the story, they call them Indians because at this time, when this story took place, they were referred to as Indians. Because I told you there was a whole nother thing going on where the Europeans thought that, those are the Pilgrims, thought, but not the Pilgrims. They thought they landed in a totally different country, not America. They thought they landed in India. So that's why they called the people there Indians. We know they're Native Americans, but back then they didn't know that. All right, so page 20, we have the Indian or Native American. It looks like he's looking out. How can you tell? How did I know that he is a Native American? Look at what he's wearing compared to maybe the rest. Page 21, and what we're used to, he's looking out. Now, I can kind of tell from looking at that those people are maybe wearing clothes that the Pilgrims would wear. Turn the page. Okay, I see people building, all working together, men, women, and children. They're building a home. And then on page 23, it looks like they're eating. Not one person is smiling. Turn the page. Oh, this kind of makes me remember the picture of them in the water. Remember, it was really dark. So it kind of makes me think something not very good is going on. I don't know. If I look really closely, I can see a man who, those look like big cannonball shooters. It's a cannonball shooter. Cannons. Very good. Very good. See, I heard you. Turn the page. Oh my gosh, it looks very cold. Can you see against the house? It looks like breeze. That looks awful. Turn the page. Oh my gosh, page 28. Look at all those people in one little spot. Feels like you're on the ship again, doesn't it? Oh my goodness, page 29. I don't know. They're digging a hole. They look really cold and nobody's smiling. I'm going to take it that maybe this is more sacrificing and they're not having a great time. Turn the page, page 30. It looks like it's a lot warmer out, and I'm looking at page 31. I don't think that is a person that is a pilgrim. How can you tell? By looking at how he's dressed and maybe anything else about him. That's right. Turn the page. Okay, so now I see a deer. I see some men. It looks like Pilgrims and Native Americans together. One has a bow. What could he be showing or about to do? Page 33, I see people and they look like they are planting things, okay? So, they look to be a little bit happier. I actually saw smiles. Page 34 and 35, I see people of all different colors and shades and wearing all different clothing, and they are mainly smiling and shaking hands. I hope that's a good sign. On page 36, oh, I don't know what they're writing, but I'm pretty curious. Page 37, I see people and it looks like the boat got away from them. Turn the page. Oh my gosh, look at they are planting. I see smiles. I don't see any Native Americans, but I do see the Pilgrims. If we turn the page, you can see Native Americans and Pilgrims, and all the Native Americans, it looks like they're walking into the town. Okay, so we've seen how bad it got, and then we saw that there was help, and I saw hunting and farming, and now everyone seems to be a bit happier. Turning the page, which is actually page 42, but you can't see it. Remember the title of the book, The First Thanksgiving? I wonder if this has something to do with that. Keep going. And I see people running around. I see lots of smiles. They're shooting. I hope they're having a good time. Almost at the end, I see a big town. Can you see that on page 46? Makes me think that the Pilgrims are doing all right, even after all that suffering. I wonder how they made it through, how they got help. All right, and on the last page, 48, I see Pilgrims. I see Native Americans. I see a turkey, pumpkin. Looks pretty happy to me. Okay, you ready? If you got ants in your pants, pause the video, move around. I know that was 5.5 minutes of just looking at the pictures, but I like to touch on that. Okay, page 20. The last thing we knew, I'm always going to go back a page or two and review. So if I look back on 18 and 19, I saw the Pilgrims coming. I see the Native Americans. And you know what? I'm going to read page 19 again and see if it kind of jogs my memory. If not, pause the video and go back a little bit and look at the pictures, because sometimes it's hard to hop into the middle of a book and remember what you read before. You can always do a picture walk. But page 19 says, the men kept exploring. They find wonderful things, corn, baskets, a spring. They take fresh water back to the ship. How sweet it tastes. What this and the picture reminds me of is the Pilgrims are on land, and the Native Americans, the Indians, had never seen people like that before, and they were frightened and ran away. So let's see what happens from there. Page 20. Now the Pilgrims must choose a good place to live. Remember how awful it was on the boat? A place with a harbor and fresh water and fields for planting. At last, they find the perfect spot. You always want to be near water. Here a brook flows into the harbor. A big rock marks the landing. They will call this place New Plymouth. The Pilgrims begin a new life in a new land. There's so much to do. They must build houses before they can leave the ship. Why? Friends, why do they have to build the houses before they leave the ship? Why can't they just leave the ship and build the houses? Oh, where would you sleep if your houses aren't built yet? Yeah, you don't want to sleep outside. Okay. They must build houses before they can leave the ship, but it is winter. Bad weather slows them down. It takes weeks to finish just one house. Page 23. And there's hardly enough to eat. The Pilgrims survive on food from the ship, roots, wild birds, and shellfish. How they wish for a dish of pudding, a slice of beef. They do not look happy. Oh, here's that picture I thought was a little scary, page 24. On a nearby hill, the Pilgrims make a platform for their cannons. They know the Indians are watching them. They can see smoke from their campfires. They can hear them in the woods. A guard is posted day and night. As you're turning the page, why would they have to post a guard? Why are they watching the Indians, and why are the Indians watching the Pilgrims? Okay, page 26. How hard that first winter is. Every day is bleak and cold. Fierce, icy winds rip through the settlement. Oh, you can feel it. Freezing rain falls for hours. The Pilgrims huddle together by their fires. They feel miserable and so alone. It's like having wet socks that are cold, you know, when your boots leak, but way, way worse. Page 28. Almost everyone gets sick. Many people die. The small Pilgrim band gets smaller and smaller. By the end of winter, only half of the Pilgrims are still alive. That was really tough. Like women, children, and men. You know, not everybody made it. Remember the sacrifice and why they're doing this has something to do with their beliefs. Page 29. The Pilgrims bury the dead at night in secret graves. The Indians must not know how few Pilgrims are left and how weak those few are. Why? They don't know anything about the Indians, the Native Americans, but why don't they want them to know there's only a couple of them and they're all weak and sick? What are the Pilgrims may be afraid could happen to them? Page 30. The long, sad winter passes and spring arrives. Indians are sighted nearby. They come closer and closer. Then one day, an Indian walks right into the settlement. The children are terrified, but the Indian smiles and says, "Welcome." His name is Samoset. He speaks English. He learned it from sea captains. The pilgrims ask Samoset many questions. They give him presents. They want to trust this friendly Indian. Turn the page. Samoset comes back with an Indian named Squanto. Squanto speaks even better English. He likes the pilgrims, and he decides to live with them. He shows them how to survive in the wilderness, how to hunt for deer, and where to find berries and herbs. He also shows them how to plant corn the Indian way. The Indians put fish in the ground when they plant the seed. Their seed. The fish makes the soil richer. That's right. Page 35. The Indians want to make friends with all their Indian neighbors. Squanto and Samoset tells them about an Indian king called. All right, so I'm going to look in parentheses and see how maybe to pronounce this. Massasoit. Massasoit. When you have the big capital S and O, that's the Massasoit. That's where you stress. He is a great and wise leader. Massasoit comes to visit Plymouth. Page 35. Stick with me. Remember, you can pause the video anytime you need to stop and wiggle around, but before you press play again, make sure you look over the page that maybe I just read so you're not lost. Okay? Page 35. The pilgrim governor bows and kisses the Indian king's hand. Massasoit bows and kisses the governor's hand. Then they talk together. That must be a sign of respect. A treaty is made. The pilgrims and the Indians will not harm each other. There will be peace. The Indian leader draws his name. The governor writes his name. This treaty is kept for 54 years, that they will live in harmony together. On page 37, in April, the Mayflower, what was the Mayflower? Sails back to England. The pilgrims are sad to see it leave, but not one of them leaves with it. They all want to stay in America. Remember how awful it was, yet they all want to stay. Page 38. The pilgrims work hard all summer. In the fall, the fields are full of good things to eat. It is a time of plenty for the pilgrims. How thankful they are. They have food and shelter and new friends, the Indians. The pilgrims decide to invite the Indians to a Thanksgiving feast. We're giving thanks for you. That's where the name comes from. Massasoit promises to come. Page 40. What a surprise! Massasoit arrives with 90 Indians. The pilgrims are worried. How can they feed so many people? But Massasoit knows what to do. He sends some men into the forest. They come back with 5 deer. Now there is enough for everyone. They're living off the land. Page 42. Oh, this is my favorite picture. The oldest pilgrim says a prayer of thanks. Then the feast begins. Everyone eats so much. Turkey, lobster, goose, deer meat, onions, pumpkins, cornbread, and berries. Everyone looks so happy in that picture. The feast lasts for 3 days. Can you imagine eating and partying and with all those wonderful people for 3 days? People eat and sleep and then eat again. The Indians do special dances. The pilgrim men run races. They have shooting matches. The children play games like tag and blind man's bluff. Everyone has a wonderful time. Page 46. As years go by, more people from England come to America. The little town of Plymouth gets bigger and bigger. The children of the pilgrims, let me try that again. The children of the pilgrims grow up and have children of their own. They have harvest feasts too. Last page. In 1863, it's like a long time ago, Abraham Lincoln, the President of the United States of America, makes Thanksgiving Day a national holiday. The first Thanksgiving is never forgotten. I liked that story. Thank you for sticking through it with me for all that time. This is a historical fiction, means it may not have happened exactly the way it is in the book, but it is based on something that happened in the past. All right. Hey, te amo. I love you. I will see you soon. Hasta luego.